Looking at this stunning beauty of nature and flowers, it's easy to feel refreshed and rejuvenated. Like us as human, it's pretty similar for AI models, namely ChatGPT, as they need constant refinement and reflection. And as you know, the performance of all these large language models like ChatGPT is heavily dependent on how you prompt them. So if you would like us to explore how we can figure out a solution that can automate designing and refining our prompts to ChatGPT, then let's go. Hello everyone, this is MG and welcome to another video. Well, this time we're gonna talk about how we can use ChatGPT intelligence by itself to help us automate refining and designing our prompt to ask our questions from ChatGPT. Well, you might have heard about some principles for prompt engineering and how we can assure that the way that we're asking questions will give us the most performant outcome from ChatGPT. But this time we're gonna use ChatGPT by itself to help us prompt our questions and the desired output we are hoping to retrieve from these models, and we can see how we can automate that refinement of our prompts, again using ChatGPT and of course plus LangChain. Then let's check it out. Before we start, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you will get notified for the next video. Thank you. Alright, now let's get into the topic that we're gonna discuss, how we can make these language agents like here ChatGPT in a self-improving mode. So what does that mean? The idea is actually coming from an article published by Noah Goodman, and it has been sort of also implemented in LangChain. I will add the source of the code that I have used to demo you this concept. But the idea is that actually, let me go through my whiteboard. As of now, when we are using, let's say, ChatGPT to prompt or ask a question, let's say this is our input. This is a question that we call it here task by that has been asked by a user, which is us, right? And then after having that question to be answered by ChatGPT, we will get the response, and the response is coming from ChatGPT that we call it agent. So as we know, ChatGPT understands language. That means when we have the user there, the agent or ChatGPT gonna come back with the response, we can continue the same thing, ask follow-up questions, get the answer, ask another questions, right? So this flow is a conversation that ChatGPT can understand end to end. Now the idea is, when we have this user question and then we have the agent answer or the ChatGPT response, what we're gonna do is, let's use ChatGPT by itself to monitor this flow end to end. For example, we're gonna say ChatGPT that, hey, we had a user ask this question and then this is how you replied. Then the user asked follow-up question, then this is how you replied. So check out all these performance for the whole complete conversation and tell us how we can make the prompt better, how we can ask ChatGPT with a better prompt, a better way that user will ask less follow-up questions, right? Then ChatGPT will see all of it and it will give us some instruction. For example, the user gonna ask about any topic, why I should use ChatGPT. This is something I'm gonna use actually in the demo, right? ChatGPT come up with some answers and then the user says, oh, I'm not happy with the answer, it is too long or it's too complicated to understand. So when I have all these feedback and questions from ChatGPT, then ChatGPT will see them and then give us an instruction. So say that, hey, you know what, next time when you ask ChatGPT, add this part in your prompt, and that part says, hey ChatGPT, before replying to the user, make sure your answer is not long and is not complicated. Why? Because I got the feedback previously from users' questions, follow-up questions, that your answers were too long or complicated to understand. This is for us is called meta prompt. So what we are doing, instead of having just simply the user question and then the answer by ChatGPT, we have also a new thing called instruction. We say to ChatGPT, this is user questions, give me the answer, but make sure you follow the instruction. I know it's too many stuff, too many lines I'm writing down here, but let me get back to the code. And if I want to also make the idea here a little bit more easier to understand, the idea is very similar to reinforcement learning. So if you're familiar with reinforcement learning, we have an agent, an AI agent, that will go through a simulated environment, do some trial and test, exploration versus exploitation. Based on the policy, it will receive some rewards if it acts good, or if it fail, it will get penalty. Based on that fine or penalty and the reward, that AI agent will start learning gradually. This is what we are doing here for large language models based on user question, and then the user and the ChatGPT answer. ChatGPT will get them all and will come up with some instruction, a new modification to the prompt, which we call it meta prompt, or called meta prompt by Noah, to refine the way that we're asking these questions. So next time when we have this instruction plus user question, ChatGPT will immediately give the best answer to the user instead of having follow-up questions or feedbacks. Okay, so let me go through the code, which I have it here. Let me change my screen. Alright, so here I'm importing necessary packages and libraries, and of course this has been implemented by LangChain, so you have to import LangChain as well. Again, I will add the source of the code that I have used in the video description so you can check it out on your side. But long story short, it is defining multiple functions for us that you can just use them as is. You don't need to modify them because the functionality gotta be the same. But here's the key idea. We have three components in this meta prompt or self-refining template. Well, we have human, which is the user input, and we have ChatGPT outcome, which is the agent, and then we have the instruction, which is that meta prompt. At the beginning there is no instruction, but when ChatGPT start to see the history of the conversation based on what was the human and then what was human input question and then what was ChatGPT answer, it will start generating instruction for us to ask our questions and prompts better. How it will do so, here is the trick. It is using a fixed prompt to ask ChatGPT that, hey ChatGPT, you are an assistant. Here we call ChatGPT an assistant. So we have human, us, ChatGPT, and the instruction that we're gonna start creating it using ChatGPT. We say that you had this conversation with the user, let's say MG. I'm talking to ChatGPT actually, or my assistant. And your ChatGPT followed the instruction, which at the beginning it was no instruction. Now what I'm gonna ask ChatGPT is that your job is to critique the performance, your performance or assistant performance, and then revise the instruction so next time we can quickly come up with that answer based on user feedback. Okay, let me do it. What is the chat history? Here I'm going to give the chat history of the user and ChatGPT to this prompt, and then I'll say that make sure when you critique, see what stuff you could do better other time. Check out this chat if there's any better way that we can ask the questions to revise that prompt. So this is the fixed prompt that we're asking to generate that instruction using this meta template. And then what we're gonna do in this main code, I'm going to actually start asking a task or asking any question from ChatGPT, then to see if we can get better by the instruction or the code gonna work or not. Well, couple of things I'm gonna tell before I run this code to explain a little bit better what's happening here. So here this is my main function, and you can see that it has something called iteration and max meta iteration. So what these are, when I start asking a question, ChatGPT will give me the answer, right? Then I'm not happy with it, I ask a follow-up question. That's an one iteration. Then I'm not happy with the second answer, I'll go with the third follow-up question. So I'm in the third iteration. I'm telling in the code that maximum 3 times the user can have follow-up questions. So after 3 times, what's gonna happen? Let's say the user asked 3 times follow-up questions to get a better answer from ChatGPT. If after 3 times I got the answer I wanted, and I say that task succeeded, that means I'm done, I got the best answer I wanted, and we can see what is instruction generated. because at the beginning it's not, but then when ChatGPT see its performance, it will give us some instruction. But if task fail, I mean, even after 3 times follow-up questions, I'm not happy with ChatGPT performance, the task gonna get fail, then ChatGPT will start seeing that, okay, what it could do better based on user feedback, so it will start generating some instruction for us. Then I'll start that 3 questions again. I'm in the second meta iteration of my 3 questions. So that meta iteration from 1 will be in 2. Then I have 3 questions in meta iteration. Then in meta iteration 3, I have 3 questions. Meta iteration 4, I have 3 questions. So that doesn't mean I have to maximum go to 5 iteration of 3 questions. I mean 5 multiplied by 3, 15 questions. Not necessarily. Maybe in the second meta iteration and at the first question, I got the answer I want and I got the instruction generated by ChatGPT. I'm good to go. So let's run it actually, and we can see in action. It will make much more sense. So here what I'm gonna do, this is my very first question from ChatGPT, and I have no instruction generated, no sort of reinforcement learning implemented yet. Simply asking a question, and let's see what's gonna be the ChatGPT answer. I want to ask, for example, provide a systematic argument for why we should use ChatGPT. I think the answer is clear for all of us, but this is just an example to see how that meta prompt gonna work. So I'm gonna run this, and let's wait a little bit. There you go. So at the beginning, human, which is MG here, asked this question, and assistant, which is ChatGPT, gave me this answer. But I have no instruction. So where I am actually, well, let me remove all this stuff. I hope I can, but yeah, I think I need to manually remove these lines. But basically, I have now this user question, then I have ChatGPT response, but for instruction, I have nothing, none. Why? Because ChatGPT hasn't seen any performance of itself based on human question or me and the ChatGPT answer. So instruction at the beginning is nothing. Now, this is the time I'm gonna see if the answer is good enough for me or not. Well, based on what I see, it seems to be too long. Well, I want to ask ChatGPT to try again. I don't like this answer. So what am I gonna type? It's too long, try again. Now, next time, now I asked my first question, and now I got the feedback, right? So I'm in the second step out of 3. Where that 3 is coming from, it's actually max iteration. So this time ChatGPT will give me a shorter answer, which is good. So it listens sort of what I mentioned, but still I think it's a little bit hard to understand, let's say, as an example. So I want to make it a little bit easier to understand. Then this is my second feedback or follow-up question. I would say make it easy to understand. Try again. Now I am in my last step, which is a simpler answer because I told it make it easier to understand. But still I'm not happy because I'm looking for more use cases of ChatGPT, examples of use cases by ChatGPT in the answer when I asked the question why we should use ChatGPT. Sort of more explanation, but it's I think too short for me now. So I am in the last step of that max tree we specify in the code. So I have to say that task failed or task succeeded. I think it failed because I'm not happy, so I would say task failed. Let's see what's gonna happen. Check this out. When I said task failed, now that meta prompt started to work to create an instruction. Now it will start seeing all my 3 questions and all 3 answers by ChatGPT to start giving me a new prompt that has an instruction. What is it? Let's check it out together. So there you go. Now I am in the second episode. Now I am in this bucket here out of 5. And I have the same question because ChatGPT failed to give me the best answer. So this is still my question as a human. But remember at the previous iteration, instruction was nothing. But now I have something automatically generated. And it says to ChatGPT that, hey ChatGPT, this is human question, but before you answer, make sure you provide a concise and easy to understand argument for why we should use ChatGPT. emphasize the benefits it can provide to customers and business. Where is this instruction is coming from? Well, it followed all three questions in the previous iteration and the answers and my feedback. I said too easy, too long, whatever. Now I got the instruction. So this is instruction embedded in my prompt. Now I am sort of automatically refining my prompts with including some instructions plus my question that let ChatGPT to immediately come up with the best answer. So within the first shot, look at that. I'm asking just this question, but I immediately got the answer that I wanted. I didn't provide any instruction, but on backend, it's providing an instruction to let ChatGPT come up with the best answer. So, but if you remember when I asked the same question at the beginning without an instruction, this was, for example, the answer. But if I go all the way down, I can see now that I asked the same question, but now the answer is much better. First of all, for example, easier to understand and then a little bit shorter. That means my large language model has been refined by the specific prompt that we include instruction. So what I'm gonna do next? Here I am the second iteration. I can move on with creating more and more instruction or say task succeeded. Let's finish it. Let's say I want to ask more follow-up questions. I'm not still happy. I say, for example, give more use cases of ChatGPT as an example. And then again, instruction is there. I have it all time. Then I have my question. Then it knows what ChatGPT answered before. So let's come up with the new answer, which it is here. So after that, I would say, well, I'm happy with this one. I would say task succeeded finally. So, actually, I think I have it here so I can copy it. There you go. Okay, it said task succeeded. Thanks for playing. And now what I can do, that 3 out of 3 or 3 steps can be 100 or 50 or whatever. And after having all those, of course, there's a limitation on the memory too, but after having all these question and answers, I got something very valuable, which is an automated instruction created by ChatGPT to next time answer human or MG question based on this instruction. So if you compare this with reinforcement learning, coming back to my messy whiteboard, the only difference is that each time that you go through questions and answers by ChatGPT, you receive an instruction based on the feedback that it has seen, right? So when you go to the next iteration, let's say iteration number 2, it doesn't necessarily know anything happened in the previous iteration. All these user questions and ChatGPT answers are gone. But the only thing that can get transferred to the second iteration is that instruction. So this is the instruction Drew created in iteration 1. And now in iteration 2, you can have also user question, ChatGPT answer, question answer, question answer. Then this part, you will now create a new instruction. So you have one instruction generated in iteration 1, and then you have instruction created in iteration 2. So all the way going through this iteration, you are creating instruction, instruction, instructions. So you're iteratively refining your prompts in an automated manner by seeing the performance and creating something called instruction. This is the idea of meta prompt, and this is the idea of how you can redesign the prompt that you're asking from ChatGPT based on your previous questions. Although it's pretty easy to implement and the idea is simple to understand, but the application of that can be massive. And if you don't know what's going to be the best way of asking question from ChatGPT for your use case, try this simple code out and let's see what's going to be the instruction that ChatGPT will tell you that how you should ask ChatGPT your questions to come up with the answer you're looking for. So next time you're not going to have follow-up questions, multiple questions to come up with the answer. You can have the right answer right at your first question with having this instruction generated by ChatGPT. And hope you enjoyed the video. That's all.
Forget yourself for 1 second and imagine yourself not being one person, but a family, a clan, a powerful group. You are not your ego, you are your people. So Follow dreams that empower many instead of one. Then you will grow rich and powerful. Dream big, my friends. Believe in yourself and take action. Till next video, take care.